Hello, my name's Laurie, and welcome to cyberonthewire.com.
CISSP study, how to take notes. What I'm going to tell you, the difference between studying and reading, looking at sifting through text and distilling facts, and briefly look at a couple of examples. So what is the difference between studying and reading? Studying is reading with a purpose. So as you're reading, the whole point of it is to get information into your mind that you can later on recall to answer a test or what have you. It's distilling testable facts from explanation. The purpose of taking notes is twofold. You're ingraining relevant facts in your memory, and you're providing an efficient way to revisit those facts. So firstly, you're reinforcing your own learning so that it goes into your mind deeper and it's easier to remember later on. And secondly, you're providing material, your actual notes, that you can go back to later on in your revision phase and quickly refresh the parts that are particularly important prior to your exam. So in terms of how to take notes, as you read sections of text, ask yourself, is this a core fact or explanatory text? If it is a fact, then how testable is it? Have you seen it before? And if you do decide then to write it down, be as efficient as possible with how you write your notes. We have a look at an example, or a couple of examples now, and see how that works. So this is my block of example text. It's all about the Bell-LaPadula model. As you can see, there's a lot of text there on the page. It'd take a while to read, and I'm not going to do that now. But let's have a quick look at how many notes I would actually end up with based on that block of text. So that's it. Small handful of bullet points is all I would have. So, first part, fact or explanation. So in this paragraph, the US Department of Defense developed the Bell-LaPadula model in the 1970s to address concerns about protecting classified information. The DoD manages multiple levels of classified resources, and the Bell-LaPadula multi-level model was derived from the DoD's multi-level security policies. So let's see, what have I written down in terms of notes for this? Nothing. Reason being, this is introduction. This is explaining to you the background of the model and where it's come from. Ultimately, this isn't an exam about history, so I wouldn't personally note down anything from that paragraph. Repetition. So with this paragraph, the classifications the DoD uses are numerous. However, discussions of classifications within the CISSP CBK are usually limited to unclassified, sensitive but unclassified, confidential, secret, and top secret. So bearing in mind, this part of the book, this is from the official study guide by the way, this part of the book is talking about that model. What would I have written down from this paragraph? Nothing. The reason is these different levels of sensitivity of information are covered in other chapters. I've already written down notes about it, so I wouldn't need to do it again here. In terms of efficiency, so let's have a look at this block of text. So by design, the Bell-LaPadula model prevents the leaking or transfer of classified information to less secure clearance levels. This is accomplished by blocking lower classified subjects from accessing higher classified objects. With these restrictions, the Bell-LaPadula model is focused on maintaining the confidentiality of objects. Thus, the complexities involved in ensuring the confidentiality of documents are addressed in the Bell-LaPadula model. However, Bell-LaPadula does not address the aspects of integrity or availability for objects. Bell-LaPadula is also the first mathematical model of a multi-level security policy. So quite a lot of text again, plenty of words. What would I have written down in my notes? Confidentiality. That's the only word I'd have written down. So looking through this, it talks to you a bit about how it works. You will come to that later. It also talks about what it is not. So it says it does not address things like integrity or availability. If I just write down confidentiality and then I'm asked a question about this particular model in the exam, in my mind, I'll look at my notes and I'll have confidentiality. Okay, it deals with that. I don't have the others down there, so I'm going to make that assumption that it doesn't deal with them. If you start writing down everything that something is and isn't, the chances of you being able to remember all those in your notes, I think, and certainly for me, are slim. So be as efficient as possible when you're writing your notes. You're not going to be able to take them in with you, so you have to be able to remember them. So to summarise, when you look at a fact, or rather when you look at text in the book, you need to decide, is this a fact, or is this just explanatory text? If you decide it's a fact, try and consider how testable it is. Think to yourself, how could I write a question around this? The easier you find to do it, the more likely it is going to be important for you in your exam. Check that you're not picking up stuff that's repeated from other chapters. You're not going to necessarily know what's coming up in chapters ahead of where you are, but certainly if you start reading stuff you think, I've read this before, check your notes already, make sure if you have, you're not writing it down again. And if you do decide to write down a note, make sure you're as efficient as possible in how you write it. If you want to find out more, I self-studied and passed the exam first time. I've got a website where I give people study advice for the CISSP exam, including some resources, which you can also get hold of my flashcards there. So you can get all that on cyberonthewire.com, or if you want to read the full article about taking notes in more detail, then you can click on the link below. Thanks for watching.